attach that for income tax purposes unless our letter itemizes what they gave us.
I don't think this gentleman is looking for a deduction. It's already been approved. I gave him the material list before I went there to pick it up. I know time is always important when you're dealing with the public. And this would just be a letter thanking that individual I gave you the card for assisting the Island Board with their donation. It doesn't have to be specific. You don't need to put anything indicating the value of this for this individual.
Is this the store? No, we would not indicate the value. He would.
Yeah, we don't have to do any of
But
that. So,
is this the store manager?
yes.
I don't think we should presume that the store doesn't care whether they get a tax deduction on this. I would not feel comfortable sending them a letter without an itemized list of what we got. Yeah, Carl?
Take Joe's suggestion. You need to go with the man, so just do it.
All right, I'll just send a thank you note then.
Okay, and moving right along, also Murray, the gentleman who had the ability to do some pictures, you have a chance to follow up on that? And
No, I have not.
I have another thought. Since I made my 8 here, we don't have one more meeting, so I got to go fast. The pictures that you do have, or if you can get this gentleman to do pictures or anybody else, those pictures can be used for fundraising, go on brochures, and if you take a PVC tube and get 2 caps, you can take all these pictures and roll them up and store them a lot so you don't have the destruction of them bouncing around as well. So you could actually take the ones that are in frames that you don't know where, how we can make other ones up and duplicate what we have. I sent you over 5 or 6 or 7 new pictures for that gentleman. And whether it's that gentleman or someone else, this board having pictures is going to be a big asset, and you can store them from becoming damaged inside a PVC tube with a couple of caps on it.
Yeah, but after a while, won't they just, when you open them, just want to roll back up if they're in them tubes?
Well, I'm saying if you have them framed the way that you did, you have the number of frames, you're using them, but these will be the backups just in case you need them. You can have a project where you have Island Week throughout the city, go to the business district and ask them if you can put a picture in their windows, and that way you'll have enough of those to do that. This building has some pictures. Keegan Building at one time had a lot of Island pictures. It can't hurt you to have those pictures. You can see how many years we got out.
Yeah.
So they last a long time.
Okay.
Under old business as well, this will just be 2 quick ones. One is the Alex's resignation. Did that come to us in the form of an email? Or?
We have not gotten his. We have not gotten his formal letter of resignation yet.
All these things that
to send us one.
All these things that we talked about, we need help. You can only do so much. So you need another guy or girl or whatever to get on board and try to get this stuff done. If the man said he resigned, that's pretty much an indication.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Spend $2,000 on a special election?
When we get his,
No.
When we get his letter of resignation, and I'll send him an email,
Okay. So,
and then we can vote on accepting his resignation.
Yeah, and that's a segue into my next thing we talked about a year or 2 years ago when Tom Scattergood was here, and that is having appointment powers. A lot of other boards, in the event of a resignation, they have the ability to appoint someone until the next election. That way you have a warm body in the seat helping to get things done. There are procedures for this. You'd have to have a majority, you have to have nominations, you have to have all that stuff. Not that hard to do. You contact the municipality like Burlington or school boards, and you say, what do you do? And share with us of your format and what you do.
Right now we're governed by the charter.
Right. The charter gives this board to make any and all changes as long as they're not inconsistent with state law. That's been upheld by the administration branch of the State House. They confirmed that through Senator Allen's office, and we shouldn't have any problem making changes as long as they're not inconsistent with state law.
Yeah, I'll inquire about that.
Appointed powers would be a real good thing.
Can I comment on that?
Okay.
Yes.
I do recall Ron saying a few meetings ago, I think when you announced that Alex had an email remember his reasoning,
He did, that's why,
so, I mean,
that's why I.
perhaps we should ask him first. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm just curious. I don't
It's going
recall
to generate
Okay, I'll
another,
check on it.
that's going to generate another
Okay,
400-hour bill though, but,
As we all know, doing something illegal generates a lot of bills too.
well,
Look what happened with the website.
I
So,
just happen to have the charter.
I know, but
I was against appointment powers
laws are tricky.
before, and I'm still against it. And you guys think we got majority all the time, so we can pick somebody.
All right, why don't we
I'd
put
still
it,
be against it.
why don't we put it on the agenda for the next meeting? We can be prepared, we can look up the charter, we can talk about it.
Well, the first thing you
next
gotta do
meeting.
is get Alex to send a formal
Yeah,
resignation,
we do.
and if indeed that's what he's done, then he
Okay.
needs to send it.
All righty. I'll send him an email. Okay, Joe.
Yeah, moving right along, two other things real quick. Uh, uh, Now, this has, and I want to be emphatic, this has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with the person, the quality, or the integrity, any other capacity of the person doing the position of secretary right now. Absolutely nothing to do with it. And that's my disclaimer, I like that word. So, now that the disclaimer has been going out there,
Well, you realize now I automatically disbelieve you because anyone that has to tout their honesty usually has something
You
behind it. But go
realize our
ahead.
secretary
That's
is
fine.
not getting a stipend.
I wasn't going to approach that
Okay,
subject.
okay.
And that's why I said,
Now I'm leery of what you're going to say. Go ahead.
I make a lot of people leery because they confuse ambition with aggression. It happens to me all the
All
time.
right, let's
It's
get it
okay.
over. All right, come on, Joe.
So, the secretary's position. We have a manager that's been elected by the people, volunteering to do this work very generously, very well, very capable, etc. But I just can't help but think if we had a person that could do that secretary position, that possibly the energies of that person could be spent and help us accomplish some other things. Or, if the board feels that, as has been done for many, many years, we don't need a separate position for secretary, perfectly fine. I only have 8 more, so whatever you guys want to do is fine. But I recognize the wonderful job
If I can,
that's
Joe,
being done.
before you go on, after the election, when we held the reorganization meeting, it was asked if we had anybody to volunteer as secretary, if anyone had any interest. There was crickets in the room. And no
doubt.
one since then has stepped forward.
You have
And I'm fine
stepped
with
up.
doing it.
Ask
I'm
the
fine
question,
with it.
ask the question, do you have somebody in mind?
I absolutely do not.
Okay.
Absolutely do not. I want to share with you the number 8. Okay, it's 8.
You already did, Joe.
I-
All right, so I have no self-serving
Having
interest
said
here.
that, let me ask Tony, does this take anything away from you, doing this right now?
No, I have plenty
You
of
know,
energy.
we've got a
I'm young.
closed session to do, we've got an hour before the end of the meeting,
And I got to
and Tony's not getting paid, so why is this a problem? In 25 words or less.
Sometimes less isn't better. Sometimes more is better.
Sometimes more is horrible.
So if you put it on the web page and you found somebody, our secretary and manager is perfectly right. Nobody volunteered. If you put it on the web page and you put it out there on the counter, you still might not get anybody. But on the other hand, there may be some individual that will say, I can attend and do those things for you. And the time spent by the manager doing secretarial skills could be spent doing some other things.
Such
And
as?
there was an individual, by the way, that did volunteer for the secretary position. Now it just comes to me.
I don't know.
So we did have somebody volunteer for that.
If I may again, also keep in mind that all the ink, paper, binders, flash drives, I paid for that myself. Now, you may get somebody to volunteer, but when they're tired of spending their own money on ink and paper and other supplies, most likely, they're going to ask to be reimbursed, where I have not. So keep in mind, free is not always free. It looks good, and you think it's good, but I haven't just donated my time. I've donated my own materials, and that's not cheap.
It is
So
the same.
keep that in mind when you look for a volunteer.
The next thing I have real quickly is meeting with the mayor on this ruling. I'm told that we won't have a meeting with the mayor until the state gives its
We
ruling.
haven't gotten a letter yet from the state.
share with the board something that's been brought to my attention by the state this week. And that is that there has been 3 different occasions where the state reached out to the city and the city has not responded.
Okay, and when they don't respond, they'll send a letter. That's what they told Ron.
Right, and what happens is it gets longer and longer and longer, and then this issue just compounds itself, you know. I think, as I said the last meeting, I understand the safety concerns, I support them, but the mayor stopped when he said, here's the problems. The mayor should have said, here's the problems, and here's how we're going to solve them.
Right,
And that didn't happen.
the last time this happened, the state reached out to, this is what my understanding is, the state reached out to City Hall 3 times. When City Hall did not acknowledge, they sent them a letter.
I may be wrong, and I want to apologize publicly if I'm wrong. But I thought you said as president that you and either Nick or Mary was going to meet with the mayor about this, have meetings with the mayor. I may be wrong.
Once we get the letter from the state.
That part I don't remember.
We gotta have ammunition to go at it.
How about the ammunition from our attorney?
The problem is, Joe, our attorney sent the Department of Environmental Protection was his legal opinion, okay, basically. And he gave it to them to do with, because don't forget, Joe, we can't afford to sue the city. We cannot afford to take the city to court. This way, and this accomplishes 2 things. Number 1, we don't have to spend any money by doing it this way. And number 2, it doesn't make us the bad guy. It makes the state the bad guy when they're getting it from the state. We're in enough hot water with the city right now, you know, and my feeling is take the pressure off the island board and let the state deal with it, which they will.
No, I would respectfully disagree because people elected us to this board, not to the city. 330 years, this board has controlled that portion of the island. Now, all of a sudden, the mayor's come in and taken control.
I may say, Joe, just so your information, I know that Ron has said that he will follow up, and I suspect that he's probably in the process of doing that now. He gave it a certain time in one of my conversations with him. So I think that will be happening very shortly.
What happens in the time limit? Is he going to send another letter?
No, he's going to get a hold of DEP. I don't want to sit here and have to go through a conversation about your desire to put on some armor and go after the city, and versus Ron going to the DEP.
No,
I'm just explaining to you, we know it's illegal.
You know, we support protests, but we don't want to stand up on our own and say to them we're against it.
Joe,
I don't get it.
Well, you should, because you've done it before, and the results were not that good.
That's your opinion.
No, I know that. Yeah, well, I can get some other people to stand up and say the
Okay,
same
let's
thing.
move on.
Madam President,
Jim.
I'd just like to remind the board with regard to us being in the middle with the DEP and the city, that previously, with regard to setting up the meeting with the DEP about the dredge spoils, they had the same issue. The DEP told me personally, that's the person's name, that they contacted the city on several occasions and never received a return phone call from the city. I spoke to Mr. Ballard about that, and he indicated opposite of that. So we're in the middle, and it sounds like we're in the middle again.
Who is the individual? Do we have a name? Because we can call him and ask him for a letter, and ask him, have him tell us, and then we can go from there.
It might have been, no, you know who was the gentleman that we're contacting with the dredge spoils? He spearheaded the dredge spoils. He's part of DOT. What's his
From
name?
the Army Corps.
No.
DOT is the biggest.
He was the I thought it was weird because it was the DOT, not the DEP. I know
Actually, DOT is big into this.
They're the ones.
I can't, I know I have.
The guy did the.
I'll find, I
Isn't he the guy
will
did the soil
I will
sample?
get the name. I will get the name.
That'd
Isn't
be
he the
great,
guy who
Jim.
did the soil sample?
Man, I almost got this thing.
That'd be great,
Yeah,
Jim.
The
Thanks.
common denominator is
I
the city
meant-
doesn't respond.
I meant
Pardon?
I I met the gentleman at the docks when the soil sampling was just starting.
Yeah, I know.
But, you know what? I don't know. Madam President, the city is not cooperating with us. They have a history
Get
of
us
not
a name,
cooperating
get
with
us
us.
a name and we'll
So
see if we
I'll
can
get
get
you that name.
Right, they're not, it's not just us, they're not cooperating with DEP. So if you can get us a name, maybe we can put this together, especially if it's done in
I
writing.
will email that to you.
I've got it, we've all got it in an email somewhere.
I can't think of his name. I might have it back here. I'll look.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, can we move on to new business?
Scott,
Scott,
Scott.
did you?
I did. And then I said Davis, but I don't
You gave me
think
that
that's right.
first name, now I should know the last name.
You have it? Do you have the name?
I have contacts with the DEP.
Where'd they come from?
Oh, the DEP,
Have an applicant?
at the boat
Well,
ramp.
is that the apple? Oh.
So that would be DOT.
Eric Watcher, and Tom Mackay.
You can keep that.
Well, thanks, Don.
Damn, I almost told him again.
Actually, one of these people might have some
I have it
information.
here. When I used to
One of
shake
these
my
people
head.
might have some
Scott
information.
Douglas.
Scott Douglas?
I said Davis on
first
the
names.
phone.
He's got a book.
Okay. We'll have to do some research and see where we can find it.
I'll get you his phone.
All right, thanks.
Go to that, straight.
Here. Okay, can we move on to new business? Public portion procedure. Joe?
Oh, yes. Madam President, you indicated in the last meeting you were going to start a new procedure where the public, the stop clock is running and you got 5 minutes to speak and there won't be any interaction and things of that nature. I just like the record to show that, my personal opinion is that these people, well, you don't have a lot of folks out here this evening, as an example. And when they do come, they leave their businesses, their families, and they take personal time to come here and express concerns. And I want to hear those concerns. On a national level, you've got people running for office that go to town meetings because they like the feel of that. So I just want the record to show that I don't really think at this point we don't have so many folks coming here that we need to restrict them, nor do we have to change from the friendly town meeting style that this board has done for so long. That was my concern about the public portion. Procedure that you mentioned is going to start this week. And then the only other thing is by having the public portion up at the top, you accomplish two things. One is that they get to talk fast, they don't have to wait, to express their concerns. But on the other hand, if you put it somewhere in the middle, they get to respond to issues that they may have heard discussed that evening. You can get their input on that, or you have to wait for them to come back. That was my concerns about the public portion. I don't know what the other managers feel, but I enjoyed having the interaction and exchange of ideas. I think it's a healthy thing to do.
Okay. I used to have the public portion after the business was taken care of, and I was criticized for that by a member of the public. So I switched it to the beginning of the meeting. I don't think that 5 minutes is unreasonable per person. Fine if we've only got 3 people getting up to speak, but if we've got 20 people getting up to speak, we've got to be consistent. This is a meeting of the Board of Island Managers to which the public is invited. They have a right to be here. They have a right to comment. It's a public meeting. But there's nothing that says, that a person has to be given the floor for an indefinite amount of time. One of my jobs is to keep the meeting going, to progress through so that we can get finished. And, my style may be different from other people, but I can tell you that any public meetings I've ever been to have limits on how long the people in the public can speak. So in that that regard, I am not being inconsistent with, other venues. Does anyone else have any comments?
No, the only comment I
Jim?
would say, oh, I'm sorry.
No, Mary had the floor, sort of.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jim.
No, the only, Madam President, you and I have had discussion regarding this topic on a couple of occasions, and the board has spoken about it previously on numerous occasions as well. If you put the public portion at the beginning of the meeting, and somebody wants it at the end of the meeting, and if you put it at the end of the meeting, somebody wants it at the beginning of the meeting, that's why I was smiling a minute ago when Manager Bate was starting to discuss that. Which leads me to the point that I think I agree, we are here to conduct the business of the board, but we're also here for the benefit of the school children and for the public. So perhaps the best way to have the public portion limited. I don't like the little timer beeping in the public's ear.
I don't have anything else.
And thank you, Madam
And City
President.
Hall won't let us use their timer.
Well, that's okay. I thank you for not bringing that this evening. I think it disrespects
I forgot it.
the people. Well, at any rate, we also disagree on that. I just think it's disrespectful. I think that as president, you can control the amount of time without having a beeper going off in somebody's ear. And the other comment I was leading to was that I think that it would behoove the board to better communicate with the public that in specific instances during the meeting, if the public had something to say or add to our discussion, that they be permitted, within reason, to voice their comment, concern, information. I fully realize that that's not normal procedure, but I just want to remind everyone what Manager Bates said. This is our board. We can do pretty much what we want to do with it, and I would rather err on the side of giving the public time and information as opposed to buzzing them in 5 minutes and not allowing some good back and forth between the board and the public. So that's all. Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
I was asked if I want to say something.
Again.
Well, you started to speak before,
I
that's
know.
why I'm asking you.
From what I've witnessed here over the last 8-9 years, when the public gets up there and becomes part of our meeting, it becomes part of the argument, and it gets kind of unruly sometimes. We'll go on the YouTube last meeting, you could see the argument with Harvey, and everybody was up here yelling at me, and I was trying to accomplish what I had to accomplish talking to them. And the arguments are over the same things, over and over and over and over. Unless somebody's got something to bring forward, and really to present that has some value to it, rather than beating us up or wanting to argue over a situation, it has no value as far as I'm concerned. I mean, the public has plenty of value if they've got something important to hand to us, not to argue with us about. That's my comment.
Just to follow up, Madam President, I agree with what Manager Sunstein said. The issues can get contentious at times, and there is where I think that the President needs to be able to have the ability to control whatever that discussion is. But I still think we should err on the side of the public. That's all. Thank you.
Motion for 5-minute break? Yeah, make it easy.
Second.
Joe, do we want to go smoke?
Yeah,
Second.
give Joe
I
a cigar.
seconded.